Your brain can literally stop time. You know the feeling. Time flies, or it drags on for what feels like forever. We've all had a great weekend feel like it was over in a blink, while a 2-minute plank feels like an hour. But what if your brain could do something even weirder? What if it could make time just stop? I don't mean in some sci-fi time-traveling way. I mean inside your own head. It turns out your brain has a kind of off switch for time. Under the right conditions, it can make moments or even hours completely vanish from your awareness. This isn't just time feeling fast. It's the feeling of time not existing at all. So how does it work? And how can you experience it yourself? Let's get into it. Section 1. The common experience and the big claim. We're all familiar with time playing tricks on us. Think about how a summer vacation speeds by, but seems to last forever when you look back on it. Or how time slows to a crawl during a crisis, like a car crash or a sudden fall. For decades, scientists have been asking why time feels so flexible. But the reality is way more radical than just a bendy clock. It turns out our perception of time isn't just flexible, it's fragile. It's a mental construct that can, for all intents and purposes, be shut down. And that's not a metaphor, it's a neurological fact. When your brain decides something else is more important, it just stops spending energy on creating the feeling of time passing. You don't feel time moving quickly. You just don't feel it moving at all. Those moments just disappear from your conscious experience. So how is that even possible? To figure out how the brain turns time off, we first have to understand how it turns time on. Section 2. The brain's time network. You'd think there's a perfect little clock ticking away inside your skull, but that's not how it works at all. There is no single timekeeper in the brain. Instead, your brain creates your sense of time using a whole network of different regions, all working together. It's less like a clock and more like a symphony orchestra, with different sections playing together to create one seamless piece of music, your reality of time. The key players in this orchestra are all over the brain. You've got the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, which helps you mentally time travel to plan for the future or think about the past. You've got the parietal cortex, which is like the conductor, mixing all your senses, sight, sound, touch, into a clear sequence of events. And then you have deeper parts, like the basal ganglia and cerebellum, that handle the super precise timing of movements, right down to the millisecond. All these parts are constantly talking to each other, weaving together memory, attention, and what you're sensing to create your experience of now. But here's the kicker. This whole complex performance is tied directly to what you're paying attention to. The more new stuff your brain has to process, the longer time can feel. The less new stuff there is, the shorter it feels. And if your brain decides to completely filter out that feeling of time passing, it's gone. Section 3. The switch. How consciousness creates and deletes time. So what is this off switch? We see it most clearly in what psychologists call a flow state. This is that feeling of being completely absorbed in something, an athlete in the zone, a coder deep in a project, or an artist lost in their creation. When you're in flow, your focus is so total that everything else just melts away. Your worries, your sense of self, and, you guessed it, your perception of time. People in these states say hours feel like minutes, but it's even deeper than that. During true flow, you're not thinking, wow, time is flying. You're not thinking about time at all. Your brain has made a critical decision. This task is so important that every last bit of attention needs to go to it. The network that creates your sense of time gets pushed to the back of the line. It's not that the clock speeds up, it's that your brain stops looking at the clock completely. The experience of time just gets temporarily shut off. This works because attention is a limited resource. Your brain can't do everything at once. During flow, that prefrontal cortex, the part that usually keeps an eye on the clock and how you're feeling, actually quiets down. Scientists call this transient hypofrontality. It's basically your brain's CEO taking a coffee break so the specialists can get the job done without any micromanaging. You and the activity become one, and the feeling of time just dissolves. Section 4. How to trick your brain's clock. Okay, so deep focus makes time vanish. But what about the opposite? What about those moments that seem to last forever, like in a near-death experience? This is the other side of the coin, and it reveals the secret ingredient for how we perceive time: memory. Neuroscientist David Eagleman studied this by having people take a 150-foot freefall into a net. Terrifying, right? Almost everyone reported that the fall felt much longer than it actually was, but his tests proved they weren't seeing the world in slow motion, like Neo in The Matrix. Instead, something else was going on. In a scary or totally new situation, your brain kicks into high alert. It starts recording everything in super rich detail. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, starts screaming, telling your memory center, "This is important. Record all of it." Later, when you remember the event, your brain looks at that huge, detailed memory file and thinks, "Whoa, if I recorded that much stuff, this must have taken a really long time." This is the same reason for something called the oddball effect. If you see a long string of identical pictures, and then suddenly a new, oddball one pops up, you'll feel like that oddball image stayed on screen longer, even if it was for the exact same amount of time. Your brain simply spent more energy processing the new thing, and that extra effort gets translated into feeling like more time has passed. What this all means is that how we remember time is all about memory. Time doesn't just fly when you're having fun, it flies when you're stuck in a routine. When life is predictable, your brain doesn't bother writing down much new data. The days blur together because you have no new footage to look back on. But a weekend packed with new experiences feels long when you remember it, because you created a ton of rich, new memories. Section 5. The revelation: your reality is a story. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the steady, forward-marching river of time we all think we experience is, mostly, an illusion. It's a story your brain tells itself. Your brain is a master storyteller. It takes in a chaotic flood of information from your senses and edits it all into a neat and tidy story we call reality. It even creates a now that's always a tiny fraction of a second in the past, because that's how long it takes to process everything. And as the director of this story, it chooses what to highlight and what to leave on the cutting room floor. When you're in flow, it cuts out the feeling of time to help you focus. When you're scared or trying something new, it zooms in on every detail to help you survive and learn, which creates that slow motion feeling when you remember it. And when you're bored, it just fast forwards, because there's nothing new worth recording. Our experience of time isn't just a reflection of the universe. It's something our biology actively creates. And realizing this is actually really empowering. It means we aren't just passengers along for the ride. In a very real way, We are the co-creators of our own time. Conclusion. From time disappearing when you're in the zone to a scary moment playing back in slow motion, the conclusion is clear. Our brain doesn't just measure time, it creates it. It uses that complex network to build our sense of time, and it can turn that feeling down or completely off whenever it needs to. The secret is all about attention and memory. By focusing your attention, you can make hours disappear. And by seeking out new things, you can stretch your memory of time, making your life feel longer and richer in retrospect. There's a reason your childhood summers felt like they lasted forever. Everything was new, and your brain was recording it all. You have the power to shape your own experience of time. Break your routine. Learn something new. Go somewhere you've never been. Fill your life with new experiences. You won't live longer according to the clock on the wall, but you will expand the life you feel you've lived. You'll give your brain a much better story to tell. When has time completely disappeared for you? Share your own flow state stories in the comments. And if you liked this little trip into your mind, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the brain's biggest mysteries. Thanks for watching.